Domestic and Family Violence Action Plan that the PHN has developed is a great 3-page document that has doubles as a referral to your local link, but it's also got a great series of screening questionnaire on the second page, which allows you to do a really good risk assessment. By doing those questions, it allows you to see the scope of what might be happening at home. So it includes questions about things like financial abuse, sexual abuse, coercive control, but also things about strangulation or choking or pressure applied to the neck, which are things that I think GPs are not used to asking in just across the board from their patients. So using that action plan, it will allow you to get an idea of the different types of family and domestic violence that might be occurring in the home, rather than just focusing on the physical safety of the patient. It'll allow you to consider things like emotional abuse, financial abuse, and coercive control, sexual abuse, and also consider if there's any mental health issues, weapons in the home, or anything else which might elevate that risk to the patient. The third page has got some information on a safety action plan on it, which can help you with that safety planning with the patient. So the Domestic and Family Violence Action Plan is a template that can be uploaded to Best Practice or Medical Director, and so it will auto-populate with a lot of your patient's details. And then you can also tick the boxes for things like the safety questionnaire that's part of the second page, and then you can send it on via medical objects. So recording for safety is really, really important for patients that are experiencing domestic family violence and that have disclosed to you. So it's important to make sure that you're remaining objective as possible when you're doing your notes into a Best Practice or Medical Director or your medical software. Make things very objective. Document as much as you can. Upload photos if there are photos of injuries or anything that you're able to take. Have a chat within your practice, the best way that you can do that within your system. Then it's really important to be considering use of what we would call a covert code. Now, this comes under not as a diagnosis or something like that that would then go on any referrals. We would only recommend that you put this as reason for visit. So in this space, we're advocating that you use a code called DSWAB. So it stands for Domestic Safety and Wellbeing. By doing a covert code as reason for visit, it allows if a different doctor or nurse in your practice is seeing that patient, and you would normally go, oh, why have they been here previously? You would have a look, and if you notice that code was there, it would prompt you to be opening that record to see what was happening. There might be a previous action plan that's been uploaded or a safety plan that's with the patient, and it allows you to check in with the patient to make sure that the things are still the same, that the violence is not escalating, and that you may need to reevaluate that patient's safety. The use of the code also alerts other people in the practice, so it might alert your reception staff that there could be issues with confidentiality, or the perpetrator might cancel appointments on that patient, just to be making sure that that patient is very, very well looked after and supported by the whole of the practice. The other thing when you're recording and keeping those notes are things like subpoenas. So with subpoenas, the biggest thing that we are recommending is that you obtain legal advice either from your medical defence organisation or the Women's Legal Centre if you receive a request or a subpoena for patient notes. You don't need to send the entire medical record with a subpoena, and it's really important that you actually don't do so. Some of the medical records are covered under confidentiality, and so you need to make sure that you are aware about which records are appropriate to send, and you only need to be sending records that are appropriate to the case. And that's where the use of the DSWAB code can be really helpful, because it's already alerting you the records that are relevant that might be worth or might be the ones that you need to send as a part of that subpoena. The other great use of the covert code of DSWAB is it will allow you within your practice after 6 or 12 months to actually run a report and see how many patients that you have that have presented and disclosed domestic or family violence to your clinicians within your practice. It will allow you with the practice to see how much of an issue, I guess it is, for your patients within your cohort. But also in the future, the PHN is hoping to collect some of that data because it will certainly help the PHN and us as a profession in general practice to be promoting to the government that this is an issue, that this is something that's going to need ongoing funding for. So for a GP or any health professional, if someone discloses to you that they're experiencing domestic family violence and there are children in the home, it's really important to remember that you are a mandatory reporter and that you will need to make either a report to DCJ or to the Child Wellbeing Unit. Now, your local Child Wellbeing Unit is a fantastic resource, and I strongly recommend that you would talk to them. They're able to help link the family and the children in with local supports, and they are aware of just a multitude of services that you probably have never heard of occurring in your area. So I really strongly recommend that you talk to the Child Wellbeing Unit. I guess the biggest issue that we find is that when someone discloses, they are worried about there being a report made and how that might impact on them, or the risk of maybe losing their children as a part of this process. And that's where a strengths-based report is really helpful to explain to that patient and how that might look. A strengths-based report is where you are making that report to the DCJ or to the Child Wellbeing Unit in support of that person, that your patient, in support of that family. So someone that has disclosed to you, that's linked in with services, that is doing everything that they can to protect their children, that is the person that we want to support. And you can make that very clear to them that when you make that report, that you are making that report in support of them. So as health professionals, we have this unique opportunity to be supporting children who are experiencing domestic and family violence. What we know from the statistics and from the reports is that children that are experiencing this from a young age are not getting that early intervention that they should be until 6, 7, 8 years after that initial occurrence of the violences in the home. So it's really important to be making that referral to the Child Wellbeing Unit, but also to be referring for early intervention. And that might look like getting assessments for their speech, for their learning development. And I think speech is one of those ones that is not, very well captured. Often children will have very good language skills, very good expressive language skills, but their receptive language might be affected. So doing that early intervention and those early assessments, as soon as you become aware that there is domestic or family violence or abuse occurring in the home, is really, really important. The primary healthcare response in responding to the disclosure of domestic or family violence or abuse is to spot the signs, start that conversation, and then link for local support.